So Ger, today is 24th of November 2021. It's 12 days ago you came to see me for the first time, exactly the 12th of November. And would you tell me a little bit about your journey to basically come and to see me to try to get some help helping your type 2 diabetes?
I heard about your talk in the Red Cow from a friend of ours and booked and went up to see what was on offer, not expecting anything. Thought it'd be a night, and I saw the book was on offer, and a grand. We'll see how it goes. The more you talk, the more I got interested and wanted to find out more. And
find out about what? So would you tell me, what did you want to find out?
Potential, some other direction other than control of a condition that was going to win eventually, take over, and to have a direction that's new, that actually means it can be stopped, it can be managed. It's not in control anymore. You're in control. You're working it rather than succumbing to it. I hadn't heard that up to now. Up to that, it was resign yourself to this being lifelong, resign yourself to its advancement, and we'll minimise it. And that wasn't what I wanted. Naturally enough, I like being in control of what your environment is, and to have no control or to have an acceptance that this will get the better of you is not how I wanted to deal with this.
Would you share your story, how this whole thing started in November last year?
Went to my local doctor, GP, with, I didn't think much of it at the time, an ulcer on the back of my toe that wasn't healing. He looked at it, resigned, wrote a letter, and immediately sent me, wouldn't even let me go home, sent me straight to A&E with a letter that evening. Naturally enough, it was busy.
You was busy at the A&E?
Yeah, and I was there till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I was finally seen, and when the medic on call came out, as his words were, "We were amused by your doctor's letter." And he looked at it.
Looked at your toe?
Looked at my toe, prescribed antibiotics, and said that should do. More or less, your GP was being a little bit over anxious. So this irritated me. It was 3 in the morning. I was tired. I felt like a bit of a fool, and I resented what my GP had, so to speak, sent me for and put me through for no good reason that an antibiotic would have done it. So I went home, took the antibiotic, and didn't go back to my doctor because I didn't feel
the need for it.
The need for it, yeah. So the antibiotic helped the toe for a while, till after Christmas. But it never sealed over, it stayed open. And between Christmas and the end of February, it was getting worse. So one day coming home from work, I was walking down and it was more sore than usual. My wife had a look at it, and she suggested I go to the Vista clinic, the 24-hour clinic, and that was a Friday evening. And went to the clinic, doctor saw me there and went through sort of the usual procedures, but wrote me a letter and told me to go straight to Tala Hospital. Not go home, go straight. Now, the ulcer was open, the toe was quite inflamed and red, but I got used to it. This was very slow and I didn't feel any pain. I had no sensation. There was a hole in the back, as I said. I could put my finger in there and there was no soreness.
So you didn't think it was that bad because you couldn't feel really the pain as such.
Yeah, men are like that. We're a little bit silly when it comes to those situations. But because it wasn't sore, it didn't bother me too much. I thought if it was really infected or bad, it'd be tender. So I just lived with it. I was kept in over the weekend in Tala, and Monday morning the surgical team came around 8 o'clock, and by 9:30 my toe had been amputated and removed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically being admitted for a little ulcer on Friday night.
Yeah.
Now you suddenly had was it your left toe?
Left, yeah.
Would you mind showing it?
No problem.
So basically that was what's left. Now, was that a shock to you? How did you find this psychologically?
I expected an IV drip and treatment. I did not expect to leave a little bit of me behind after pretty serious surgery. It wasn't what I expected at all. So I'm one of these people who kind of get on with it. You know what I mean? That's the way you are now, so just keep going.
Do you think this could have been avoided if they would have taken it a bit more seriously in November?
Yeah.
So in November when you went to the hospital, they didn't take a blood sample?
No, I was prescribed an antibiotic and sent home at about 3:30.
And because they were amused by your GP's letter, you then didn't think that you would need to do anything, so this was left. And then when you ended up in hospital, what were your sugars when you got to the A&E in Tala in the end?
26 on admittance. That's what they were reading at that time. And again, going back to the surgeon in the local hospital, I took his word for it. He's the professional. I deal with machinery. I know about machinery. He's a medic. I figured he knows. So I trusted.
So now the toe was gone, and what was the treatment for the diabetes then?
I started on metformin and insulin at increasing levels till they got control of where we were. I was kept in for a week and a half, and when I got down to a manageable level, I was discharged.
And were you advised to lose weight or what's your diet? Were you giving specific dietary advice?
The diet, I was given the standard pamphlet with the food pyramid, which I found slightly contradictory. I was vague. I wasn't really sure what I could and couldn't have. I kind of adapted or created what I thought was a healthy diet myself and was happy with it. More brown bread, less fats, butters, various things, minimise takeaways. And I was happy with it. It seemed okay, but I stayed at the point I was at. I wasn't healing properly. My second toe had a slight blister on it. It's only healed in the last 5 weeks. The other toe had developed a similar ulcer on the back in roughly the same place as the first one. My other big toe on my right foot. Around that time, and that steadily grew throughout the summer. This was my other toe getting ready to go the same route as my left toe. And it had no sense of, sometimes it seemed to slow down, but it was always at the end of the month, it was a bit worse than it was at the beginning of the month. I could see another visit to Tala and another amputation.
And what about the rest of yourself, just overall did you have any other symptoms like in yourself now? You are on the medication and were you feeling better?
The medication, being honest, constipation was a severe side effect, and a chemical feeling is how I describe it. You didn't feel yourself. And it's not nice to have to inject every night and find a different spot because one gets slightly tender, so you're alternating and you're looking at how far out can you go. The metformin I found very difficult. Normally I'd have a good constitution, but some mornings you'd have to clear yourself. You would be gagging in the morning, and I found it pretty severe, and I could see this is going to be the rest of my life. There's no getting away from this, and that's what I thought.
And that was pretty much what you were told, wasn't it? You weren't really given hope that you would reverse it or get rid of it.
No. The resignation, resign yourself to you're diabetic, you'll always be, and resign yourself to we'll slow it down. But there was no third avenue, so to speak. There was no other angle on which to deal with this apart from you're on a conveyor. It's a very slow one, but you will progress along it, hopefully comfortably and slowly, but you're going one direction. That's what I took from that
So
experience.
what was the turning point then?
Part of the turning point would have been I got really angry with it because it was going to take over my life. It was going to destroy my life. My business would go if I lost the other foot, the other toe. I'm self-employed. There's no fallback. That really stressed me out because what was I going to do? 56, I'm not going to regenerate and start something new. And this was staring at me in the face every night when I took my socks off. I looked down, looked at the back of another toe with a hole, and knew they're going to tell me someday we need to take you in for another amputation. And that's terrifying. There's no other way of putting it. For anyone, man or woman, doesn't matter. You're at a stage in your life, you're losing control, and there's nothing you're told you can do about it. So you feel lonely. And when you don't have hope, when you think that is it, it's hard to accept. I've always found you can turn and twist and you'll get another angle, but when there is no other angle, when there's nothing else offered for you to make use of or try, despair is your next option.
So what happened then? How did you end up coming to attend to my diabetes education event the 11th of November?
A good friend of ours, Trish, she texted me the details of your talk in the Red Cow, and she sent the whole attachment, and I said, looked at, I was at work and I was waiting for a machine to fill in. I went through and had a look and saw you could apply online and signed up for it and said I'd go along. You were offering hopefully something better than what I had. I didn't know, I knew very little about you, so just seeing that you were a specialist in this and this was a talk, I thought I'll pick up something, you know. So I went up curious more than with expectation, and on the night in question, the more you talked about the situation, the people that were there that had succeeded impressed me. And they gave me a hope, they gave me something that if I'm to go down, I may as well go down this route and see where it goes rather than accepting the other option. And it was one last shot, it was one more shot at this, and this is it. This will be go for this or just go along with what's ahead of you.
So it's 12 days now that you've been on the plan, and obviously you heard the word very low calorie ketogenic diet. Did that scare you, and how?
you took away all my foods that I lived for and on, and it was because I knew, to my mind, the foods were going to be extremely difficult, and they were going to be not nice, and they were going to be, you know, you have to sacrifice yourself to this diet. That's what my preconceptions were. On the day of our assessment, I came up here and you opened the larder and you were offering me chocolate this and chocolate that and sweets and orange flavoured biscuits, and I was there, hang on, which one of us is trying to promote the diet here? Because you were given selections that I thought wouldn't be even mentioned, along with practical foods. My porridge was I love, and with your flavours, the apple and cinnamon, lovely. Yeah, I had a preconception that this diet was going to be tough. Some days it's hard because you know what you might like at that time of day, but it's a successful diet in the sense that you have options. It's not monotonous. There's a variation. There's different avenues you can go, and yes, it's a diet. Yes, it's a strict diet, but you can do it. And I would be so stubborn, as my wife would admit to, in all regards, that I resist being told what to do. And I was the benefactor here. You were the facilitator, and you were steering me to where I needed knowledge, information, and guidance. And that's what you have, and that's what I got, was this is the way to do it. It can be done. You have to do it.
What the biggest change obviously was that, you know, I told you to stop to inject the insulin and take the metformin. How were your sugars before when you were injecting and taking all the medications, and what they are now, and how did that transition go?
A good day would have been 9-ish, in that range, and up to 12.
This is with the insulin?
Yeah. Again, the diet information I had was kind of vague, and I thought I was doing the right thing. But it wasn't specific, it wasn't detailed, and I was left to my own devices, really. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't understand food. And you're a little bit at sea. You're a little bit, you know, right, sure, we'll try this for a week or two or a month or whatever. But it's not specific. It's not detailed to a very technical point that it needs to be. I had the visceral fat. I know I
How
was
much
overweight.
weight have you gained, let's say, since, you know, if we think about when you got married to, let's say, to this point, how much excess weight do you think you were carrying when you came to see me?
In stones, the old method, I suppose it was about 11.5 stone then. I think I could be 14 for 15 maybe now. Definitely between a quarter and a third heavier than it would have been back then.
So you were aware of this, but were you told clearly that this is where the diabetes lives?
The pancreas is mentioned more than the visceral fat, and that my pancreas was producing bad insulin. That was about
what
it.
you were told.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened now when we then stopped the insulin and the metformin? What was the change?
In a sense, there was no change. I was expecting lightheadedness or dizziness or some. I was expecting some withdrawal. And the transition was as though nothing had happened. But my sugar started going down. I was taking 3 times a day. I was taking my bloods before now. Well, 6 times a day. Before meals and 2 hours after each time, and they were steadily coming down. I think it was in the 10s, then the 9.6s, and then they hit 8s, and they got to 7s.
And what was your sugar this morning when you woke up?
I think it was 6.3 this morning. Yesterday it was lower. I think it was 5.4 yesterday, as far from memory.
And this is in 12 days.
And it's there. It's a printout. It's not an opinion. It's a machine taking a test. It doesn't have opinions. It tells you what's happening.
So how do you feel now, or how you have been feeling the change over the last 12 days since this new lifestyle and diet?
Not a word I use often, but amazing. On a whole range of levels, not just medically, emotionally, physically, memory-wise. In physically, we'll just go with first. I expected to be tired. I expected this diet is going to have me tired at 5 o'clock. I'm working longer. I've done 14-hour days for 3 days in the trot. And I have the stamina to do that and get up the next morning. I didn't have that. Normally, if I'd done 1 or 2 late evenings during the week, a Saturday would be almost spent in bed to recoup. I would have no energy left. I would be deflated at the weekend. And I was psyching myself up to come back to Monday. That's one aspect of it. And calmer. Focused. I had difficulty, especially with equipment and machinery. You undo machines in a certain process and you reassemble them the same way. I'd take it apart and then I'd have to look and scratch my head. What goes where? How does it? Because everything was foggy. I wasn't clear on remembering and detailed remembering and staying focused for 2-3 hours on something. That was a struggle. You get tired literally trying to do that. Emotionally, after we started on the diet, funny enough, I felt calm. I thought I'd be very anxious. I thought I'd be very irritable because I'm hungry. I want my food. I'm not getting it. And the baby with his rattle, where is it? The opposite. Driving. I was comfortable driving because I wasn't letting people irritate me like they were. At home, my family, when we sat and had a chat about it all, they went into detail how, for them, they had to read my humour every day. What way is he coming home? Because I was irritated by little things, insignificant things. But I was always on high dough. I was always trying to focus on work and didn't want to be distracted or sidetracked by any issues, even family issues. Work was easier because it was clear. My family, one by one, told me how difficult it was for years. And I wasn't even aware of it because I was just trying to get through each day. And I sat and listened, and it was a shame because I thought I was just getting on with life. I wasn't. I was finding it difficult, and too many things were hard to deal with.
If you look back now, do you think this all could be due to the fact that you actually had diabetes for years before this all started, and your sugars has been up and down?
Yeah, without a doubt. As my wife and I sat down, we went back, as she said, she thinks 15, 20 years. That's when she noticed a change, that I got more high strung and more highs and lows that were not predictable. And she said, one day you come home great, another day no different, and you'd be different humour. And we reckon at least this was creeping along, like ivy growing up a tree. It was creeping along slowly. Wasn't aware of it, but it was developing back then.
So basically, if we're talking about emotional level, you have had huge benefits.
Yeah.
And then what about on a physical level? You were talking there earlier about your left toe that was amputated, and you said that you also have a little ulcer on your right toe.
Yeah.
And I actually did say that to you in the beginning. We need to watch that quite carefully, because I don't expect to heal that we don't get into trouble. Would you mind showing that one? So this is now an ulcer that was, and I remember that myself 12 days ago. How would you describe that this has changed in the last 12 days?
First of all, the whole top of the toe down almost to the bottom joint was fiery red. It had a different shape. The back of this, which is now flat, was how I described volcano-like. It had, the skin was rising up each side, and there was a central hollow which my little finger could fit in for the last 6 months. Since the other toe was amputated, this started around the same time and has slowly advanced, or gone backwards, I suppose, slowly. That's what it was like the day I came up to you. It was an ulcer. And well, to some people that might still look unsightly. That to me is
huge
on
improvement.
The way to healing. On Sunday morning, when I was texting you the sugar readings, I included the photograph of the toe, because I got up that morning and it was starting to heal. And that was amazing. Like, in such a short space of time, to see what had 6 months been my companion was packing its bags. It was on the way to healing. The skin had formed over the hole. It's actually smoothed off and levelled since. This side here was extremely hard and swollen. That's gone down. The front was horrible. And I knew looking at it, it would have to go. I reckon the way it was going, maybe before Christmas, maybe after Christmas. But I knew it wasn't going to stay. So that, for me, opinions or perspectives are one thing. To see something heal, for the simplest of reasons, your diet. And you take away the medicines that were supposed to be your supports, and you think, well, without them, how can this work? That's the avenue we went. And to see that change in such a short number of days is still amazing. I still haven't got used to the fact that that is healing.
You were also telling about the sensitivity coming back.
Yeah. I was in the B&Q car park one Sunday morning getting bits. And normally before this, my feet, water in the shower, I wouldn't know what temperature it was at all. No sensitivity in my feet. As I said, for the holes in my finger, in my ulcers, I could put my finger in. No sensation, didn't bother me, didn't hurt, nothing. And during the week I was in B&Q walking across, and I could feel for the first time that I remember my sock. When I was walking on my foot, I could feel my sock against the skin, and when I lifted my foot to take a step, I could feel the sock move away from the skin. And that was a brilliant sensation, because I hadn't had that. That was new. That's my sock touching my foot, and my foot is telling me it's doing that. That's brilliant, because they were just feet. They were methods of transport before that for a long time. And this was sensation. I had sensation. And I hadn't had sensation.
So it's basically the sugar readings coming down to a natural level with the diet, without the medication, which has basically aided the healing process.
And I'm on nothing else. Like, there's nothing, there's no other medications I'm taking. I don't even do painkillers. That's the only change.
How much weight have you lost so far?
The last day was just 3, I think was it 2.9 kilos, 3 kilos, thereabouts.
So 6.6 pounds around there in 12 days.
Yeah. Definitely feeling better. Have to buy new belts, new trousers. You should subsidise
But
those.
the weight here is actually sort of irrelevant as such, because it's actually the side effect of what's happening to your body. Obviously, what's happening here is the visceral fat is becoming less and less, and that's affecting the sugar readings. But it is also the fact that the diet has obviously changed quite dramatically.
Yeah, it has. It has.
Are you missing your old food?
I know it's there, and funny enough, one part of your diet I still go into a deli shop to buy is the peppers. Why? Because I still like going into a shop, and I still want to queue for something and walk out with it. And that matters in a very probably trivial way, but
you're obviously eating much more vegetables.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Getting used to the preparation takes a little bit of organisation and planning, and some of the locations I have, there's nowhere to heat food, so I have to figure those things out. It's workable. Takes effort, takes planning, takes time before, there again, now because I'm not as tired as I was, I can prepare the food even, where before I'd come home, have dinner, fall asleep. Whereas now, you do that half an hour of preparation and it's ready the next day, and the same, I bring a thermos, I have the soup with me, I have the snacks, I'll get tea in a deli, and I have the soya milk with me. But I still like, in a sense, I wouldn't like not to go into a shop, and it's almost, that's one thing I think is still important, that you still can go in, queue, get your bits, and go back out and do it the way that has to be done.
Brilliant. I mean, this is, so basically the sensitivity has gone back.
Yeah.
So if you summarize now the last 12 days in a nutshell, so what is the experience?
It's hard to believe that food can alter a medical situation that was going to get worse. Just on its own, just simple food, the basic foods. I did not believe that, without doubt. I would, if somebody else was telling me this story, I'd say, nah, you're pulling a fast one, or you're doing something here. It's not true. It is true. My toe tells me how true it is. The two options, the medical option or this, one is acceptance and the other is regaining your life, regaining control, regaining activity, regaining a whole range of potential and possibilities that were going to be taken away.
Would it be maybe better to say the drug way or the real medical way? Because actual medicine should be a holistic treatment, looking at the person in whole, not just treating the sugar readings. And this is what's happening at the moment. They are treating sugar readings, they are not treating the cause, and that's what we should be doing. And you are a living example that treating the cause works.
6 months of slowly watching a part of your body die, and no one is going to die, and less than 1 week of a different treatment and realising it's not dead, it's coming back, it can heal. There's no need to compare. It shows itself, and I'm happy for anyone to look at my feet, and one is what happened and the other is what doesn't have to happen, and that's through diet alone, which is a brilliant option to follow up on. So I'm afraid, thank you, because if I hadn't gone that night, heard you talking, and saw the examples you had to show of people who had succeeded, I'd be still waiting to make an appointment for another amputation and thinking that's all I have, and you've changed that. So thank you.
Thank you, Ger, for sharing this with me and all the other people watching this, and we will be following your journey with
Absolutely.
very big interest. Best of luck and God bless.
Thank you.